Red light is blinking.
Red light is blinking.
I like it.
Excellent. Well, if you like it, we're good. That's all that matters.
Let's do. Hopefully, I did do the charging correctly. And you're on. And you're recording.
Red light's there. Red light's there. All
All
kinds
sorts
of
of
red lights. All right, let's make sure he settles. Oh, okay, yeah, he's just gonna sit down there.
Cool.
Maybe. Okay,
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I am ready. Ah. Haven't done a clap in a very long time.
Starting 2026 off right.
Hello everyone, welcome once again to Edit Academy. I'm Darryl.
I'm Laura.
Laura, what is the year and movies that we are here to talk about today?
We are talking about the 2012 Best Picture nominees for movies released in 2011. And the movies we're going to talk today are the first 5. So
Okay.
there were 9 that were nominated, and we are going to be talking today about The Descendants, Midnight in Paris, Moneyball, The Tree of Life, and The Artist.
All right.
Also nominated that year.
Yep.
There are 4 additional ones: Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, The Help, Hugo, and Warhorse. And we are going to be talking about those next time.
Okay. I had surprisingly not seen 2 of these.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
So,
I had not seen one of them.
which one?
Tree of Life.
Ah.
Okay.
Okay.
You had not seen The Artist, I know.
Yep.
What was the other one?
Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close.
Oh, I was just talking about the 5. Yes, I also
Oh.
have not seen Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. The others I've seen from
Okay.
next time.
All right, so other notables released that year: the Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows, Part 2, Transformers: Dark Side of the Moon, Warrior, which is a boxing movie, Drive, Our Idiot Brother, Captain America: First Avenger, Pirates of the Caribbean: Stranger Tides, Twilight: Breaking Dawn, Super 8, Ghost Protocol, Iron Lady, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which is a fantastic spy movie.
Mm-hmm.
No Strings Attached. This was the Kuchar and Portman one,
Okay.
because they also the other one that they kind of get confused a lot.
The Timberland
Yeah.
and Kunis one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting that a married couple were.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the American remake. There were others. There were a ton of movies that were released this year. Most went unnoticed, small indie films that I hadn't even heard of most of them. Okay, so all of those, including our 9, what were the top 5?
All right, so I'm going to go for IP first.
Sure.
Captain America.
Did not.
I'm actually shocked at that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then Harry Potter.
Yes, that was number 1 with 1.3 billion.
The Twilight one.
Yes, that was number 4 with 712 million.
I'm going to go Transformers.
Yes, that was number 2, 1.1 billion.
There was another IP one in there that I cannot remember.
Pirates.
Pirates of the Caribbean, yes, so I'm going that.
Yep, that was 3, 1.1 point something billion.
Okay, so I need one more?
Yep.
I'm going off-brand. I'm going with The Help.
No.
Okay, because I knew that earned quite a bit of money. All right.
These were all IPs.
Okay, what was the last one I missed?
Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol.
Oh, I'm surprised just because nowadays those are not necessarily being in the top 5 for the year. Okay.
They kind of, I think
They
they
petered
peaked
out.
at,
Yeah.
they peaked at this one.
Okay. All right. Makes
Um,
sense.
All right, so I went alphabetical. I have The Artist first. Do you
Let's
care?
do it. No,
All right.
I do not care.
The Artist, written and directed by Michael, and I'm going to totally butcher this name and instead spell it, Hazanavicius. Produced by Thomas Langman, stars Jean Dujardin, Berenice Bejo, James Cromwell, Penelope Ann Miller, Malcolm McDonald, Missy Pyle, Beth Grant, Ed Luckner, Joe Murray, Ken David Tian, and John Goodman. Nominated for a ton. Best Picture, Director, Actor, Supporting Actress for Bejo, Actor for Dujardin, Screenplay, Art Direction, Cinematography, Costume Design, Film Editing, and Score. One for Score, Costume Design, Best Actor, Best Director, and did win for Best Picture. Go with some stuff.
All right, so the summary from IMDb is when George, a silent movie superstar, meets Peppy Miller, a dancer, sparks fly between the two. However, after the introduction of talking pictures, their fortunes change, affecting their dynamic.
Accurate.
I think so. I think that's a good one. So a couple of fun facts,
Yep.
and there's a ton of fun facts that mostly are about the creation of the film and how they did what they did. So I just picked a couple of them. One of which is it was a 42-page screenplay, which is the shortest screenplay ever to win Best Picture, and usually I think it was about an hour 45-minute movie, so that would certainly be about 90-minute. Or 90-page screenplay, so that was very interesting how short it was.
Sure.
And they did a lot of technical work to make this look like an authentic silent picture. It was filmed in color, which is interesting, that they then stripped to black and white. So they had to do a lot of work with what looks right with white and black and grayscale in color to make it look the way they wanted it to look. They shot it at a faster number of frames per minute because that slightly sped up work that you normally see in silent pictures. Okay. And so they did a lot of work to calibrate it to make it look like an authentic movie of the 20s.
That, and I think totally paid off.
Yep, and it is also only the second all-time silent picture to win Best Picture. 1927 Wings won, and then they went...
It's a big war picture,
yes,
right?
Yep, and then they went right into talkies.
Okay.
So only 2 movies have won for silent pictures, and I would even argue that because of the last scene, maybe this one doesn't count. There's a couple of words.
Yes. All right, I will admit very easily, I was incredibly nervous going into this film.
Okay.
Because, while I've watched an occasional silent film or two over the years, and it was mostly for like, what were they like kind of thing. They never really have captured my attention.
Fair.
And so I was very nervous that this one, for the hour and 40 whatever minutes it was, would be able to do so. And I am very happy to report it absolutely did.
Nice.
It took me about 5 or 6 minutes to kind of get into it and go with the flow and rhythm of things. But once I did, I was along for the ride. And we'll talk about a lot of the details of things, but that I wanted to get up front. I was very nervous and very happy.
I'm going to steal what you say a lot of the times, which is somebody kind of goes in and creates something and goes in with both feet after it. Yeah. Like they wanted to do something and their execution of that was excellent. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, you have to really appreciate what it was that they did because they did it. I love the creativity of it, and also in being creative, they were paying homage to so many of the prior silent pictures. I mean, there were scenes that they could have picked up. There's a scene where he is eating breakfast with his wife and the grapefruit, and that is picked up from a very famous scene in a Jimmy Cagney movie, in black and white, not a silent, but in a Jimmy Cagney movie. They're at the Pickford mansion. She talks about, I want to be alone. That's a very famous Greta Garbo line. And so, like, they paid homage in a lot of places, but it was still very original, which I think is very cool. It's hard to do both of those things.
Yes. And I think the big trick with this one, because it is silent, again, like, spoilers obviously will be put up, except for the very, very end. It's not like you can convey things through the dialogue.
Right.
Your voice has its own inflection. When you say a line in a particular way, you're conveying something to the audience. And you can say those lines in many different ways. When you don't have that, all you have to rely on is the face.
Yes.
And I thought they were able to convey, both of them, even the second tier actors, but both of them in particular were able to convey so much in their facial expressions to give you the emotion of what they were thinking and feeling as they were actually in that particular moment. I give them full credit. I'm not committed yet to giving him the best actor. Yeah. But he definitely deserved the nomination and to be in the top tier for what he was able to do. I was surprised that she wasn't, but...
she didn't get not best supporting nomination? No. Who was supporting?
I don't know who was
I thought you said best supporting.
Oh, no, I did. I'm so sorry. She was nominated. I take that back entirely. But that is so incredibly hard to do and keep you captivated and convey everything without it being like over-the-top theater acting.
Yes, yes. Because we've talked about that in the past, how plays that are then filmed for the movie sometimes don't make
Yep.
that transition well because
Yep.
they're still acting for the theater. And it's interesting because I read something James Cromwell had said that he's like, look, I just played this, like I was reading the dialogue and then a title card came up afterwards. And I love James Cromwell, but he looked flatter.
He did.
Next to the people who were doing it a step more,
Yep.
but not over the top.
I think John Goodman is, in particular, is a good example of someone, he's a pretty versatile actor
he's
overall.
wonderful. Yeah.
But we've seen him play way over the top, and
Yes.
we've seen him play subtle. So I think he was an inspired choice because you're right, he was able to give just that extra step necessary,
Yep.
but not too much to take your attention away, and not too little. Like James Cromwell, I agree, was definitely a little bit flatter in the performance than everybody else in the film.
And we've seen him play against an animated pig.
Yeah.
We know he has it in him, and that was wonderful. But yeah, the one thing that troubles me about this movie is the story, because
Okay.
so I watched the movie back when it came out, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I haven't seen it since. And when I watched it this time, it was like I was watching it for the first time because I had absolutely no memory of the story, of what happened. I just remembered the feeling of, oh, I'm going to enjoy this.
Yep.
I'm going to like this, and I absolutely did. But it's Singing in the Rain. It's that overtly told story. It's it's a recent Downton Abbey movie. It's we went to talkies and things changed. It's an overdone theme, and I didn't think they did it in an interesting way.
I thought a lot about that because I completely agree with you. But then I started to think, if you're telling too nuanced of a tale, you won't be able to convey it.
Fair.
So I think that the story, while I do think it probably could have been punched up a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting, maybe some minor things changed here or there, I think the story itself, because it was such a simplistic, straightforward thing, was necessary because of the fact that it was silent. And so I don't take, while I agree, I don't have that as a huge criticism,
Okay.
I have it as a smaller one.
Yeah.
My big criticism is I didn't buy why she latched onto him. I was confused throughout, like the initial part.
Well, why do you think she latched onto him?
So
Let's make sure
initially,
that we're in agreement on that. Yeah.
I think she was very starstruck.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And then when she got her, and he was very kind to her, there was a moment, and you could tell with the scene, which was very cleverly done, where she goes to his like tuxedo and puts her hand in, how enamored she actually was with him. But what was never clear was it just admiration, or was it genuine love? Did it grow into love over time? Because every time she saw him, she was super happy, she was very joyous, happy to share her things. I mean, she'd make the dig in the radio comment, but she was always so happy to be in his presence throughout. But I never really could tell which or why, so I didn't fully buy into it.
Okay, so I thought it was two things. I thought it was that they really had an attraction, and it was true, if not love, then certainly something that could have blossomed into love, but he was married.
Yes.
And so I thought it was there, and that they had the impediment to seeing if it could have gone anywhere. And then I assumed it was the beauty mark. When he put the beauty mark on her, he gave her career.
Yes.
Because he said, you stand out. So I think she had the love and the admiration, but she also felt she owed him her career.
Okay.
Because he said, you've got to make yourself different.
Yep.
Gave her the beauty mark, and then suddenly she's the next big thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, her movie was called Beauty Spot.
Yes.
So clearly she felt, I think she owed him.
And we actually paused it and went back through when they do that montage of all her magazines, just to double check and make sure that the beauty mark was in each of them, that it was consistent, and that she did keep it. It wasn't like she kind of took it away and then gave it back. It was consistent.
No, and I think it was a driving force as to why she was noticed and other women weren't.
Yeah, she was given the chance because of her standing out. Her talent obviously was able to propel her, but she was given that opportunity because of something that he did. And I get that. What was just unclear, and this is one of the areas where I would have liked something to kind of show whether it was genuine affection, because I don't remember, because I was thinking about it today, I'm like, did they not? I don't remember them ever kissing.
They did not.
Okay, that was what I thought.
Yep.
So I would have liked something to be a little bit more defined as to what that was. this is me, because the story was, like you say, a little bit flatter. This is an area where I think they could have developed something.
Yeah, fair. And I took it all as they were showing him to be an honorable good guy.
Yeah.
And that said too, I think it was a criminal misuse of Penelope Ann Miller as his wife.
Yeah.
Because I just love her. I think she's great. And she was just given this like flat harpy to play, and it was too bad because that was she was the comic book villain wife.
Yeah.
So.
I agree.
Yeah.
What was kind of fun is as you're going through like all of the character actors that you see in everything, you'd be like, oh, I recognize that person, I recognize that person.
Yep. Malcolm McDowell had like this teeny tiny part.
Yeah. That was just kind of fun, like who's going to be in the next scene.
Yes.
It did take me out every once in a while because I was playing that game, but that's fun.
But I thought it was absolutely fun, and it set out to do what it did what it was set out to do.
Yeah, and we both have a great admiration for films that do that. This is what we're intending, and we give a lot of credit to them, even if we don't enjoy the film.
Absolutely,
because
we appreciate it.
It is very hard, particularly in a studio structure, to have your own vision and be able to pull that vision off because of, notes and all of those kind of things. But also, a lot of people just can't pull off their own vision.
It's true, exactly. So, and this was a Weinstein Brothers production, so, I'm sure there were some notes.
Yes, there were probably some notes. And, the Weinstein Company put out some amazing films for a very long period of time.
They did.
They just,
Terrible people, but great movies.
I really have nothing else. I'm very happy that I enjoyed it, and it kept my attention because I was super nervous about it.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. That was my experience. I liked it again very much.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Moving on to The Descendants.
Alrighty.
Directed by Alexander Payne, who we both enjoy. Screenplay by Payne and Nat Faxon and Jim Rush, and is based on the 2007 novel by Cowie Hart Hemmings. Stars George Clooney, Shailene Woodley, Amara Miller in her film debut, Beau Bridges, Judy Greer, Michael Ondkein, Matthew Lillard, and Robert Forster. Nominated for Picture, Director, Actor, Screenplay, Editing. It did win for Screenplay for Payne, which is not unsurprising. I think he's won almost every one.
He won for Sideways. I know that one. I don't know if he's won for anything else, but he's nominated quite a bit. Yeah.
And that's it. That's all it won.
All right. So the summary is: a land baron tries to reconnect with his two daughters after his wife is seriously injured in a boating accident. I question the term land baron.
Me too, because that's not his job.
But yes, and the Descendants is obviously, from the cousins, so that's a bigger part of the picture, but we'll get to that. But strange. So I had a couple of casting fun facts. The first one is Cowie Hart Hemmings, who wrote the book that this was based on, as you said, had a cameo, and she played Matt's secretary. So you can see her in a couple of the scenes, like the scene where he gathers all of the friends, she's there. You can see her in the office, and so I thought that was really cool.
Okay.
And Michael Ondkein, who we know and love from Twin Peaks, this was his last film before he retired from acting. And he now lives in Hawaii. And he did not choose to come up with sign on to the Twin Peaks revival just recently. So, because he is happily retired, and that was his last movie.
Got it.
And I love him.
Okay, I had seen this before. I saw it right around the time it came out. I don't remember theater or wherever. And I did because I was on a big George Clooney kick at that time. And I remember then being disappointed by this movie and Clooney. And my opinion was not changed watching it the second time through.
Okay.
I think there are elements of this that are very strong, but I will start out with a very strong statement that we can debate about. I think George was miscast.
Okay, interesting. I want to talk about that. My overall thought on this is very similar. I find it very uneven.
Yeah.
I think it does some things extremely well. And I think it does some things extremely poorly.
Yep.
And and we can talk about what each of those are. I don't disagree that Clooney is probably miscast. I think he's got too much movie star quality for a regular guy in this role. And also, I don't know that he can get to the deep emotions that you needed in this. I think he did one scene very well on an emotional level, and that was when his daughter told him that his wife was having an affair.
Yeah.
You could see what was happening behind his eyes. You could see the anger, the what is she talking about, the confusion, no she's not. So like you could see all of that happening, but when he had to then emote with words, with lines, he didn't do it as well.
Yeah, one of my notes that I put down is, in this movie, he does not do that perpetually confused very well, which is surprising. It's a different sort of confused. We've seen him play very, very confused before, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, for example.
Fair.
And that he's able to do that in a more kind of comedic, mug to the camera kind of way. He can't do it seriously, though. I don't think in this role he was able to pull off the, I'm just confused and trying to figure this all out.
I think the problem is the way that the character was written, because he is a leader of the family. He is a leader in his, law firm and, what he does. He is a leader as far as, we are going to spend this money this way, this is how we are going to run our family. And then he is such a non-leader and such a passive guy when it comes to the family, raising his children, like being with his wife, fully absent. So I think that maybe, I don't know if it was the role or that was George's, the way he played the role, but it wasn't right.
I think what the film was trying to explore is, when you make up your mind to be different, can you still do that? Is it too late? Because he, very, very early on in the movie, we established that she's in a coma, and he's at her bed, and he's saying, I want to try, I want to be different, I'm ready. And then the rest of it is kind of an exploration of, is he really, is he not, is he really trying, and is it too late? And then, of course, when we learn that she's not going to come back from the coma, then things shift for him a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think the movie was trying to explore, are there circumstances where you can, is it too late, just explore these notions. But then by having her not be able to come out, you never get to a conclusion of that.
You can see it with how he's with the kids at the end.
Yes.
So you can see that all of that change in the way he wanted to be a different person, that he was going to focus on his wife, he is now going to focus on his kids.
Yep.
So I feel like we do see how that arc continues at the end. I'm okay with that piece, but it is just he's just drawn as an odd kind of guy.
Yeah.
I would say actually the casting as a whole was problematic, because there's a couple of individuals. So I would say all of the kids were great. I would say his kids, and Sid was a standout for me.
Yep.
I really enjoyed, and I think Judy Greer was actually the quiet star of this movie, the realtor's wife at the end.
Yep.
I loved her. But the people who played the neighbors, I think that they were fake. They were weird. They did not emote well. She's breaking down, and the husband's just sitting there like a lump. I've seen him in comedic things before, and I don't think that he could pull off dramatic. So, I just think casting altogether was off on this.
I think this was one of his first dramatic roles, because he did recently the one where he did Lee, where he plays the support to Lee, the war photographer. That's oh my God, why am I blanking?
Kate Winslet.
Yes, and he was
really
excellent. Yeah,
oh
he was
okay
great.
all right.
And it was 100% dramatic role, like the occasional little smirky joke, but it was a very dramatic role, and he did great. I think this
I haven't
was
seen that. Oh, I will. Yeah.
one of his first, and when you go from being known as this kind of over-the-top SNL characters to now you have to do this.
Yeah.
While we've seen tons of comedians do that before, not everybody can.
He just could not do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Let's talk about Judy Greer for a second, because I agree that I think she was the kind of the quiet unsung hero that was able to bring a lot of these things together.
Yes.
But what I didn't like, and it was the writing of it, was the scene where she comes into the wife at the end, and she's confessing, and I forgive you, all of that. And initially, and I think again it's the writing, George is absolutely, do what you need to do, and then she's not even done before he's ushering her out the door.
Yes.
And I didn't like that as a scene, because it didn't feel completist to me.
Yeah, he thought she was taking it too far.
Yeah.
And I think it was supposed to be a comedic moment, and it wasn't. It wasn't the right spot for that comedy.
Yeah.
And so it's just so interesting to me that, this is a filmmaker that I really like, and a scriptwriter that I really like, and it just hit me flat in so many different places. Another place that I really think, 3 more scenes and this would have been great, and it was not done well, was the whole storyline about his family and the cousins. So at the end, I looked at George Clooney making a unilateral decision for his family to not go through with these sales as kind of a jackass move. They wanted us to say, oh, he's the hero, he's saving Hawaii. I didn't get there because they needed just a few more scenes of, oh, my daughter wants to go camping, so I'm going to save this pristine land. That's the reason that he kind of gave for not moving forward. I think you needed to show a little bit more of this was a good decision, this was going to help everybody, because at the beginning it was like, oh, well, you know, the guys who are going to do this are from Hawaii, it's money, it's Hawaiian money, it doesn't, you know, we've got to get rid of it anyway, it's 7 years. So they tried to convince us that this was such a good decision to go forward with the sale to, you know, the guy from Scream, you know, but and then they turned it right around to, no, you see, we must not, we will find a better way. And he's got like 30 cousins who all agreed to do this one thing, and he's like, no, I'm going to be the jackass this is now.
I agree that it needed more development.
We could have gotten there.
Yeah. I think what they were trying to do, and they set it up because everywhere he goes, people are like, I hope you don't do it, or
yes,
it's fine if you do it, whatever. Everybody's giving their opinion.
Yeah.
And it's set up very early that because of the land that they've had, that all of his cousins make their money off the land.
Yes.
He has it and just keeps his money in basically a bank account.
Right.
And lives off his own job, so he's slightly annoyed with them. And he also mentions once or twice that like most of them are so bad with it that they're constantly needing more money. So
right,
of course they want this deal to go through because even though they have a ton, they've burned
squandered it. Yeah.
So I think what they were trying to set up was that he's
the responsible one.
He's the responsible one, and he's also taking a different position than his family because essentially what I think they were trying to say is with George, basically like, fuck the family. Like, you guys have done this to yourself.
Oh, and I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I absolutely agree with everything you're saying. I just don't think they set it up that well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I understood what he was trying to do, but I don't think he did it well.
I agree. And
so,
that is...
I get the messaging he was going for, but it was just way too many plot holes. Yeah.
And, I completely agree. And it is sad because this is Alexander Payne who, About
yes,
Schmidt, Sideways, like so many well done, quiet little movies.
Yeah.
But my note even says even a good writer and director can have a bad movie.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. And again, it wasn't bad. They set up, some really real characters, some very quirky characters.
Yep.
That I thought they did well. Like, again, I loved the Sid character. What a weirdo to come in and you think he's going to be this one kid and he's an entirely different kid. He was the responsible one. He was taking care of the young daughter. He was trying to help them through death because he had just seen the death of his parent. So, and yet he's, kind of a pothead and a loser. But he can be all of those things.
Yeah.
And that was nice that he could be all of those things.
My favorite line in the entire thing, I thought that the father was a little one-notey, except for they did kind of break that down a little bit when you see, it's very apparent that he loved his daughter.
Yes.
But he did seem kind of one-notish until there's the scene where he goes in and he's very tender and gives her that nice little kiss, and you feel all of that in that
yes,
moment, and basically you're just being a voyeur. So I enjoyed that. My favorite line in the thing is, "I'm gonna punch you now."
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. I've forgotten his father-in-law. I thought that was another very good character because incredibly, and again, like very respectful of the son-in-law. Of like, this is my son-in-law Matt. Gives him a hug. He's kind of a jerk to him. But how many families are there out there with
right,
in-laws are kind of jerks to each other, but they're still family.
Yep.
And so kind to his wife and so kind to his daughter.
The last thing that I would like to talk about is Shailene Woodley,
yeah,
who I thought was amazing. I don't know, I've seen her in a lot of things, but I don't know the order of things for her.
So this was the first movie breakout. She was in a TV show, I forget, but it was about a teenage pregnancy. And so
okay,
she was the star of that TV show, but this was her first movie breakout role.
Got it. All right, and this propelled her to go on and do that.
Yes.
The Hunger Games copy is what I call it. I don't remember what it was called.
Yep, exactly.
But she was excellent because
yes,
She actually had progression.
Yes.
She's initially so upset and angry at her father for not being present, for basically because of his actions destroying the family, mom cheating, and
but also super angry at mom for all of those same things.
And at the end, they are much closer because of the things that they go through. I will say I didn't know how to take, and so I'm still kind of on the fence about his being, you know, I don't know what to do with the other daughter.
Yeah.
You need to help me. And so the other daughter would go and do things, and he would look to his daughter to be like, what do I do?
Yep.
I don't know how I felt about that.
I agree with you, but I think they tried to turn that around again in that last scene.
Yep.
Where he is with the younger daughter and the older daughter comes in and joins the family scene. So I think it shows that he is going to try on his own. But the thing that kind of ticked me off was he didn't even talk to the younger daughter about the fact that your mother's going to die. He made the social worker or the doctor do that. So again, very passive role in parenting. Yeah. He's learned a lot, but he's not grown as much as we would like him to grow.
No, he when this film started, he had a long way to go, and he did go a significant way.
Yeah.
Like he did. This is not the feel-good movie where everybody's good at the end.
I liked too I did like, but again, that's the thing that pisses me off about this movie. There's so much potential. Because his reaction to the man that his wife was having an affair with went from like just, you know, red poker anger to this was a person that the person I loved and needs to have an opportunity to say goodbye. That is so generous. That is such a generous thing to do. And I'm not going to blow up his life to let that happen. And then, you know, and it was just very interesting, the progression of that too.
And I was surprised when he did have the confrontation, because you're right, that was his intent. And I was surprised after the confrontation when he learned that this guy didn't love his wife.
Yes.
And she was in love with him, but he did not love her. I was surprised that he still went through with it, still gave him the opportunity.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I think this to me would have been an interesting novel.
Yeah.
This was too small for a movie.
I think we can sum it up in 3 words. 4 words. A lot of missed opportunities.
Yes, that's more than 4 words, but yes.
I kept adding.
Okay. All right.
I have nothing else for this.
All right, sounds good.
Moving on to Midnight in Paris.
All right.
Written and directed by Woody Allen. We all know how much I love Woody Allen. That's sarcasm. Stars Kathy Bates, Adrian Brody, Carla Bruni, Marion Cotillard, Rachel McAdams, Michael Sheen, and Owen Wilson. Nominated for Best Picture, Director, Screenplay, Art Direction. It did win for Screenplay for Allen.
Okay, so the IMDb summary. While on a trip to Paris with his fiance's family, a nostalgic screenwriter finds himself mysteriously going back to the 1920s every day at midnight.
Okay.
That is what it is.
Yep.
There's a couple of fun facts that I genuinely found to be fun facts.
Okay.
So one fun fact is Carla Bruni, who played the guide to the museum. That was her role. She was the first lady of France at the time.
Oh.
She was married to the president of France.
Wow.
And said, yes, I'd like to be in the Woody Allen movie. It's set in Paris. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Which I find to be fun.
Yeah.
The other fun fact that I find incredibly fun is, you know, traditionally Woody Allen likes to do a lot of improv, and so he basically gives the people their lines and basically says, you know, like, here's the script for this scene, here's the things you need to say or get done in this scene. And, you know, so here, Darryl, Laura, here are the things you need to say or get done in these scenes, but you don't get the whole script. So Tom Hiddleston did not know it was a time travel movie. He thought it was a period piece. And when he gets to see Owen Wilson on the set for the first time, he's wondering why his clothes were not appropriate for 1920s Paris, because he's on the set ready for 1920s Paris.
That's great.
That is a fun fact.
That is a fun fact.
Oh, okay.
All right. As with every Woody Allen movie I have ever watched, I really try to give it a shot.
Can we give the whole Woody Allen, we do not talk about the artist, we talk about the art?
Correct.
Okay. So Woody Allen, gigantic asterisk. Okay.
And there were elements of this, because I did a little research on it, because I honestly, I take it back, I had never seen this one either before. Okay. And I, for some strange reason, thought this was a musical.
Really? Okay. There is a musical that Drew Barrymore is in. Yes, he did do a musical.
Okay,
yes.
and I maybe just thought this was the one because
Okay.
I stopped watching Woody Allen movies after a period. So I thought this was a musical, and then once I learned that it was not and started to do, well, what is it about? I realized that the time travel is set in one of my favorite periods.
Oh, okay.
I love Jean Cocteau.
Yeah.
I
Those
like
those artists and
Correct.
authors probably are right up your alley.
Yep, 100%. So I was excited for that.
Okay.
I was also super excited when I learned that Woody was not in it.
That was going to be my question because I know you hate Woody Allen movies, but I don't think we've talked about yet a Woody Allen movie he isn't in. So did that help at all?
100%. 100%.
Okay.
Although Owen Wilson is basically the Woody Allen stand-in.
Of course he is. Yeah.
But it is not such an over-the-top Woody Allen performance because there's not as much like self-deprecation and humor
Yes.
that is happening. It's more just kind of initially exploration, understanding, and then enjoyment.
Yes.
So while this is a Woody Allen film, to me, it doesn't feel like one.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite Woody Allen movies,
Okay.
and I think for that reason, it's got the romance in it, it's got the whimsy in it, and it does not have that picking apart New York analysts on a couch the way that certainly a lot of his movies in the 70s were. So there's a lot I like about it. There's a lot I don't like about it, but out of his movies, there's probably 3 or 4. Purple Rose of Cairo I like, which is a very similar sensibility to this one, and Radio Days, which I think you would actually really like Radio Days.
I have seen Radio Days
Yeah.
and I didn't mind it.
Yeah, so I liked it. It's very funny, and tell me what your thoughts were. I liked the period pieces. I liked when he was in the 20s. I didn't love so much the contemporary.
Yeah.
I thought his relationship with Rachel McAdams, like, why are they even together in the first place? It didn't make sense that they became a couple.
Yes, and I don't remember where this is in her career either, but she's a far better actress than what she was able to portray in this movie.
Mhm.
And I think that's just the writing of it. It wasn't that she was a one-note wife, it's that she only had a few notes.
Yeah.
And that kind of bothered me.
Yeah.
Also, the family dynamic, which makes sense from a Woody Allen point of view, of, I'm going through something, you're going through something, and the family just basically not allowing him to speak his own mind.
Yes.
That's very much a Woody Allen trope kind of thing.
I agree. I will say, when the family, though, Kurt Fuller played the father, and he is one of my favorite character actors, and he said that after this, people knew his name. And so they would be like, oh, can you get Kurt Fuller? And he's like, for the most part, I have not had to audition after this movie.
Good for him.
Because people knew who he was. And before, he's like, I would show up and they'd be like, oh, that guy. Okay, we like that guy. But now they know who he is. I also really liked, when it comes to the 20s, I liked the ideas that they were going into as far as looking back to this time of, this was this magical time, and I'm so nostalgic for it. And yet then, and I forget the character, Mary Cotillard's character. What was her name?
Which one?
His love interest. I forget her name.
Oh, yeah.
But regardless, but then she is nostalgic for the turn of the century.
Yeah.
So there's this sense of you're always nostalgic for that last, next thing.
And I think the premise and point, which I understood it as anyway, is that even though you're going through a moment of just pure exploration, and this moment is going to be viewed later as a golden era or a glory time, whatever, you don't get that in the moment.
Right.
It's only history that will look back and be like, oh, I would have loved to have been sitting at a table with.
Yes, and you don't know that it's happening.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's what the flashback scene or the time travel scenes are. It's an idealized version of what all of this, did these people cohabitate? Were they around in Paris? Of course.
Yeah.
But with the consistency of kind of the way it's portrayed, no.
Well, and it's funny because I looked up, because I thought that he was maybe cheating entirely, was the Ernest Hemingway and Gertrude Stein, because, Ernest Hemingway is such a known misogynist. I was actually surprised about his connection with Gertrude Stein. I'm like, was that made up? And I'm like, no, they actually had a really tight relationship, and he went to Gertrude Stein for ideas on his writing and for feedback. That shocked me, actually.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that.
I didn't know that either, but
Yeah.
that does surprise me because, yeah, he, like, Papa Hemingway was not...
Papa going to a woman for feedback on his writing just doesn't ring true to me.
Yep.
And so therefore, it took me a little bit out of the movie.
Yep.
And yet, apparently it did happen.
A couple things that I will acknowledge Woody is very good at, and they shine in this movie. The cinematography, the way he sets up a scene with so much depth. Like, unless it's just two people talking, there is constant motion in the background. Things are happening. Like, and it's mostly in the the 1920s film, but there's just constant motion as people are walking through. Oh, even if they're sitting and talking, behind them there's just tons of activity.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're mostly bar scenes, so that makes total sense. But to be able to capture that, he did a really good job.
And I also really like his use of space, and we've talked about this before, is how he moves in other movies through a New York apartment, is how he moves through a Paris hotel room.
Yep.
Is, it doesn't feel closed in, but yet you feel the closeness. Mm-hmm. I really liked it. I will say, I'm going to say about Owen Wilson, what you said about George Clooney is, I don't think Owen Wilson was well cast in this movie. He could not keep up with this style of improv the way others could.
Yeah, he's a coin flip in this one for me. I think he's an inspired choice to be a Woody Allen stand-in. I don't think he has the acting chops at this point to be with that kind of fast-paced environment. I think he does better when he's able to sit and only have a couple people to interact with. But I thought he was a great Woody Allen stand-in.
Yep. I agree with that.
So overall, for this one, I was surprised because I did end up enjoying myself as I was watching it. Because again, it just felt so un-Woody Allen to me.
It very much does, and those are usually the Woody Allen movies that I like the best. Yep, fair enough.
All right, let's move on to Moneyball. Moneyball, directed by Bennett Miller, adapted by Steven Zalian and Aaron Sorkin. I don't know if this is the only time Aaron's worked on a screenplay with somebody else, because normally he writes them himself.
Mm-hmm.
But it stars Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Robin Wright, and Chris Pratt. The film is based on the 2000 book Moneyball, The Art of Winning an Unfair Game by Michael Lewis. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor for Pitt, Best Supporting for Hill, Screenplay, Film Editing, Sound Mixing. Did not win anything.
All right, so the summary. Oakland A's general manager Billy Beane's successful attempt to assemble a baseball team on a lean budget by employing computer-generated analysis to acquire new players.
It's accurate.
A little flat, but accurate. So interestingly, he is shown as kind of like a little bit of a sad divorcee in this movie. But Billy had remarried at the time of this, and if you notice, he's wearing a wedding ring in the movie because they had actually shot some scenes with his new wife, with an actress who played his new wife in it, and they just cut those out because they didn't seem to fit the narrative. So I find that weird, and they didn't want to go refilm, with it, taking off his wedding ring. So I didn't capture everything, but this is a movie that had a ton of turmoil in production. So it's actually very interesting to go back and read how this got produced. So there were a bunch of different writers before Sorkin got involved. And so it's interesting that you ask. I don't know what, maybe this has spoiled Sorkin for ever working with anybody else in the future. He did a major rewrite, and then there were also a bunch of directors that were tied to it. Steven Soderbergh was the one who was supposed to direct it.
Okay.
And basically what they found was the film he wanted to create was too artsy for a $58 million budget. And there was way too much baseball talk. So they said, we've got to either do a big budget and a big movie that's going to attract a lot of people, or you can do a small artsy movie on a small budget that's going to attract baseball folks. And so, question of whether he was dumped or he left, but he was doing it documentary style, and so he had actually a lot of real baseball players in the movie talking to the camera the way he did it. So it would have been a different movie had he finished it. Yeah. So it's just interesting to see the evolution of how this movie got made.
As far as the writing credits, I know a lot of times I don't know if you ever saw Cowboys versus Aliens.
No, I haven't, but I know which, yeah.
So that's a very famous example. The writing credits on there are people that had worked significantly on it, but then did not collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, like, there'll be one draft of a script, and they're like, this needs a really big rewrite. They bring someone else in who does the rewrite, and their name then gets attached to so-and-so and so-and-so. So I wonder if that's what happened here.
It could be, and the funny part is that usually spells disaster.
Yep.
And I would say that, at least, spoiler alert, I thoroughly enjoy this movie, and I think it's a really good movie. And for there to be so much turmoil in the background, and for it to end up very different than the way they wanted it to start, usually doesn't end well.
Yeah,
and in this one, I think it ended well. So take it from here.
So, speaking of that, I really enjoy this movie. Probably the fourth, fifth time I've seen it.
Yep.
And this is the thing that we talk about a lot, that we enjoy when a movie can do this. This is the very definition of being able to take something that I personally do not care about and make it interesting. I don't give a shit about baseball, even less about baseball stats. And that is a big part of this entire movie. In fact, you could say it's the driving force of the movie.
Yep.
And I cared. When I sit down and watch this, I am invested. And the reason I think is because they take a nice angle when they're presenting this. And this might have been like one of the major shifts that they did. The angle is, I have an idea that is going to shake everything up and everybody's against me. And we've seen that movie a bunch. But that's essentially what happens in this movie. I have a big idea, it's going to shake up the industry, nobody believes in me, will it pan out? And to a degree, but that angle, I think, is what allows you to get into the statistics of it, the why of what the idea is.
I agree. I think we've talked about a couple of movies where you kind of have to know some of the background to enjoy it. Like, I would say The Hours. We talked about the fact that you really need to understand a lot of the background of to get why that all works, and this story and that character and that author, and make it work. This is one you can enjoy on two different levels. So there's the thorough enjoyment, but one scene I want to call attention to that I think sums it up, which is one of my favorite scenes, is when he's making that multiplayer trade, when it's Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill and a telephone, and that's it. And you've got Brad Pitt picking up the phone, talking to all of these different managers and talking about all of these different players, real managers, real players. I didn't know who any of them were. He's like, get Steve on the phone, we're going to take Damon. Get this one on the phone, we're going to get that one. And you knew what was happening, you knew who he was trading for who, and that was so much fun. And then imagine how much fun it would have been if you actually knew who the managers were, knew who the players were, and knew when that had happened.
There's along those lines, I hope this translates well. I have been told but never read, there's a book, very famous baseball book, which is like 300-400 pages long, and it's analysis of one game. That's the entire book. They break down the entire book.
Fascinating.
And even non-baseball people that I know that have read it said it's an amazing book, because they break down, it's a left-handed pitcher on a bright sunny day versus a left-handed pitcher on a cloudy overcast day, and how that breaks everything down. And I think to your point, when something is told in an interesting way that you can engage with, the actual detailed facts don't matter as much. You become invested in what's happening overall.
Yes, yep.
And you pick up and kind of start to get excited about, is this one of those guys who they're going to trade for because he walks a lot?
Exactly.
You start to question those things.
You get to understand it.
Yep, things you would never care about, but in this moment, you do.
Exactly. Yep. Also, I think they have a great use of background, as far as they are just peppering enough information that we understand who this guy is. We understand what happened to that he made a choice early in his life to go for the game rather than the education, and how that kind of impacted every decision he makes from here on out. You have time spent with his ex-wife and her new husband and his kid, and it's not a lot of time, and it's all, hey, we're all very cordial, but you can see that it's not the life he wants to live. None of this is the life he wants to live or thought he would be living. And you don't get hammered over the head with it. It's just peppered in enough.
Which makes the choice at the end interesting to me. the fact that he chose to stay with the A's even though he was being offered this ridiculous amount of money to take the system that he built to a club with a lot more money. So that was always an interesting choice. Like if you the implication, I believe, is he was staying there so he could stay close to his daughter.
Oh, I didn't see that at all. I saw it, I think that was one of the reasons, but I saw it, the way he said it was, I never want to make a decision based on money. Like, I want this team to win a pennant. And so that's the way I looked at it, was he had that bad decision that he had made, which wasn't a bad decision at the time, it was just a decision that he made. But he looked at it as a bad decision. That's the way I saw it.
Okay. You're right, there is the constant questioning of things, and a lot of things did not go very well for him in his life overall. He also, like, you're rooting for him, but he's also kind of a dick. He is not like a friendly person. No. He is you're doing this my way or get the fuck out kind of guy, which I think you need if you're making this major change. But it's also kind of hard to get 100% on board with someone when they're that dickish.
And that's why we had Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
Because Jonah Hill was the sweet nerd that got to sit at the jock table. Yep. And just like even that scene again, which I love so much when they're making that all of those trades, is you see Jonah Hill making the winner symbol, and he's like he has any part of this whatsoever, but he's one of them now. So I think because he's kind to this kind of nerd, want to be us in the room kind of person, that it gives you a little bit of that. But yeah, I think it's just he's a direct guy and it's a hard game.
Yep.
But he's not warm and fuzzy at all.
No. Not to, like, he even has the rule where he doesn't like to talk to players, but in this season that slowly starts to erode. And they set up, and I like that they actually took the time to do this. When he breaks that, and he actually, because he never goes to the games,
right. Yep.
When he breaks that and goes to a game, things start to go bad.
Yeah.
And then he leaves the game, and then they eventually pull out that particular game.
Yeah.
And so I liked those little things. He has his traditions, he has his beliefs, and sometimes when he steps out of that comfort zone a little bit, things do not go well.
Exactly, and I think that's why he followed the rule of do not make the decision based on money, is because that did not go well for him the last time. But yeah, I also, this is a non-movie star Brad Pitt.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is maybe the first time I think we've seen him as a non-movie star, and he really came across well.
The casting is spot on for everybody, even Philip Seymour playing the baseball coach.
My God, I loved him. Yep. Yeah, it was wonderful.
And again, it's everybody servicing the story and doing a very good job, knowing what their characters are supposed to be, not giving too much, not giving too little, just everybody servicing the story and having it all come together and ticking all the good boxes.
Yeah. The one thing I hated about this movie was the ending with that stupid song from Juno, and can we retire that forever, please? Why? Why? That was such a sappy, stupid little song.
It was, but it was such an indie hit at that moment.
But like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I can't even remember when we did Juno, they had ended a movie on that song. Uh-huh. So like you are absolutely doing that. It's just copycat. Even if it weren't stupid, it's unoriginal.
In the back of my head, I was like, should I even bring up the fact that the song that the daughter sings is the same as the one from Juno? Because I remembered Laura not liking that song.
And did you think, no, it's okay because Laura will have a nervous breakdown about it, and I have done as you thought. Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
We may be doing this have been doing this too long.
Tree of Life.
Okay.
Written and directed by Terrence Malick. Its main cast, because there's a lot of people, includes Brad Pitt, so 2 movies that year for him. Sean Penn, Hunter McCracken, which that just name sounds fake. Laramie Epler, Jessica Chastain, and Ty Sheridan, nominated for Best Picture, Director, and Cinematography. Did not win anything.
Okay, so the summary is the story of a family in Waco, Texas in 1956. The eldest son witnesses the loss of innocence and struggles with his parents' conflicting teachings.
That's true, but you're not going to be able to put this movie into a single...
You can't summarize it, exactly. So a couple of interesting fun facts, and you were just about to touch on it so you've got Brad Pitt and Jessica Chastain. Both of them were in 2 Best Picture nominated movies this year.
That's true.
Because he's got this one in Moneyball, and she's got this one in The Help.
Yep.
So I thought that was really interesting. And also, I thought very interesting, Sean Penn was very critical of this film after it came out. He said that the screenplay was one of the most magnificent he has ever read, but very little of the emotion that he found on the page was found on the screen.
I read that same quote.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting, and it's so very little Sean Penn in this movie, so I thought that was an interesting thought. So I'm going to start with, you tend to love Terrence Malick, and I tend to not love Terrence Malick.
I tend to love certain Terrence Malick films.
All right, so share with me what you think about this one.
Here's how I'm going to start.
Okay.
Malick is the very definition of show, don't tell.
Okay.
Sometimes, though, a little telling can help you navigate.
All right, interesting. I will say, so again, we talk about appreciating versus this movie. So this movie is just not for me, but the last 2/3 of it I actually really appreciated and thought that there were some really great parts that I want to bring out to it. The first third of it, I think, was pretentious garbage, and it reminded me of a Microsoft screensaver from that period.
Oh,
and so
interesting pull.
An artistically lovely lava lamp is pretty much what I wrote down. So I would be interested in what your thoughts are, but I see the movie as 2/3, like the end. The whole beginning of, life is beginning, and we're gonna take a picture of milk going through a filter and, calling it life, and have a dinosaur, and okay, that is so not for me.
That's where Malick gets basically metaphorical. Things are standing in for each other. The film you can look at in 1,000 different ways,
yes,
and the chatter out there will do that. Real quick on that note, one of the things that I do enjoy about Terrence Malick fans is they are so respectful. When you go onto Reddit threads and you have people talking about Terrence Malick films, they are so respectful as opposed to saying, you're an idiot.
I see your opinion, but yeah.
You're an idiot. You don't get it. All you watch are Marvel movies, like a lot of just the backlash. They're very respectful. Like, I understand why this might not be your kind of thing.
Right.
It is mine, and here's why.
Yeah.
So first off, kudos to you Malick fans that go on Reddit. Good job. Second, Malick is beautiful visually, and
I fully agree.
And he just has you sit in moments for so long that for some films that really works for me, works in Dead Red Line. This one, it doesn't. I think you're spending too much time in a moment, and that's, I think, the point, and he's doing it intentionally. But to tell this particular story, which is essentially, it is Sean Penn's story that we are watching, mixed
background
with the entire history of the universe.
Yes.
Okay.
See, I'm good in this particular movie. I did not like Thin Red Line. I'm good with this movie sitting in the moments with Sean Penn, sitting in the moments with the family, even sitting in the moments of watching the butterfly land on the blade of grass, because it's the idyllic, 50s life and the whole discussion of grace versus nature. I find that really interesting, of his depiction of nature, his depictions of grace, and how those things. So I'm all good with that. The creation of the universe to me, again, is okay, all this happened and then we got here. I think that's another movie if he wants to tell it. I don't think that is this movie.
Yeah, the tie-in is every time one of the characters asks a question of God, which are the voiceovers, they're talking to God. That's when we go off on these explorations.
I get it. I don't think it's necessary.
And that's, I'm trying to agree with you.
Okay.
That I think...
You're trying to explain it to me, I understand it.
That was not for you. That was a setup for what I was about to say.
Okay.
In doing that, this kind of quiet movie that you have of Sean Penn basically looking back at his life and trying to have a form of reconciliation with what has happened to him over his life, the pain, his relationship with his father, all of that, that it becomes too big for such a small time.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
That was the point that I was trying to make. You can have people question God, and that's fine. But I think taking and having multiple voices throughout, like mom questioning God, dad talking to God.
Yeah.
When you have so much where everybody's doing it, then it doesn't have a singular voice. And I get that that was intentional with this. This is more poetry than prose, 100%. But for me, those multiple voices that then bring in all of these extra elements take away from, I think, the beauty of the film, which is a smaller study of self-reflection.
I agree. Like, there were some moments. Weirdly, I want to go back and watch this movie again because there were some moments that I thought were so brilliant that I am sure I missed other moments. Like, for instance, the kid when he is trading his quiz with the girl that he's got the crush on in class, and she's grabbing for it and he's shaking it out of her hand, and she's grabbing for it and he's shaking it out of her hand, is exactly how the father went to tip the waitress.
Oh, yeah.
He's shaking the dollar out of her hand, shaking the dollar out of her hand. So that's like a learned behavior that he saw. This is how we attract the women that we like, or this is how we treat the women in our lives. And I'm like, okay, if I caught that one, I bet there's 15 others that I probably missed along the way of those mirroring. I'm like, that's the stuff I want. That is the stuff that's brilliant, that shows me, this family and Sean Penn's story and that child's story that I really want to see because it's in there.
There's another version of this film.
I've heard that is much longer.
It's much longer, and it does a lot more of the universe kind of things and a lot more of the exploration. And Terrence himself has said that's not my version of the film, but it does exist. Yeah. I did put that all together as one. And I don't think I could sit through it. I
don't think so, because I think it takes the parts of the movie I don't like now and expands that instead of the parts I like in the movie. I'd be interested in your thoughts on the end of the movie, because I also struggled a little bit of everybody walking on the beach by each other, and it was just a little bit too much time, I think, at that point. Just too metaphorical of like them giving the child back to the parents are giving the child off to the afterlife, and it seemed too much to me.
There are a bunch of different interpretations of that. My personal one is it's all of the people that he has interacted with in his life that are coming together for this final moment of introspection and figuring things out, and by having everybody there, everybody contributes to your thoughts, and then he's allowed to finally either come to peace or make up his mind about what it is that he's been struggling with, because everybody is there to remind him of their pieces that have happened over the years. I didn't view it as necessarily a transition into the afterlife, although I could totally see that.
I guess I saw specifically for his younger brother, because it felt like the mother was giving the child to God. So I don't know, maybe I read too much into it, but that's the way it looked to me.
You could be 100% right.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Nope,
I could very well be 100% wrong in this movie.
That was just the way that I looked at it, and that's the part that just seemed to make sense to me. You could read it entirely the other way of, I am stepping through the afterlife, these are the people that have been in my life, and these are the things that are now happening, and I would not disagree with that interpretation.
I will say about this movie that I found a lot of things to wonder about, to question, to think about. I'm still thinking about some of it, so that reads as a good movie to me, except for I'm being very selective in the parts I'm thinking about. The other parts to me were just a little self-indulgent.
Yep. It's also kind of hard to comment on the acting in a film like this. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can.
Oh yes, because it's so edited.
Yes. Yeah. You can make your comments, like the way that the three principals, Sean Penn, Jessica, and Brad Pitt, are portrayed, I think was a great portrayal for what they were intending to get across.
Yes.
That the father had multiple layers to him. He was a dick and controlling, but he also had missed opportunities in his life
Yes.
and was nostalgic about that.
He was a musician and had a softness to him as well.
Correct. Even the son and all the different emotions that he goes throughout the entire way. Like, it's very hard to say that was an amazing acting job because you know that those were crafted as portrayals.
Exactly. Those were edited moments.
Yes.
So, yep, I totally agree with you.
So I struggled with this one, and I do struggle with the occasional Malik. When he goes off a little bit too much for me, that's a me issue. There are plenty of people out there who love this film. It's their favorite, and all the power to you. It just doesn't sit as well with me.
I can understand why people would love this movie. I can understand why people would love most of this movie.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, unless you have anything else?
I have nothing else.
We each get to say 2 we'd like to move on. Was that the deal?
That is the deal.
Okay. I am going to... I'm only going to say 1.
Okay. Go for it.
Moneyball.
I thought that Moneyball would be yours. I am going to choose to push on Moneyball and The Artist.
That would be my second.
Because I think The Artist, again, did what it set out to do.
And part of it is, and I'm happy moving both of those forward.
Okay.
Part of it is I know we try to get to 5 for the part 2 of the conversation, and having seen all of them except for Incredibly Loud and Incredibly Close, I'm leaving the possibility that I'm going to fall in love with that as a movie. So
otherwise, we're going to have a very short list, is my understanding. That's my opinion.
Have you seen War Horse?
I have.
Okay. Yes, it's going to be a very short conversation, I'm sure.
I'm worried about 2012, Darryl. I gotta tell you, I'm just worried about 2012.
I am too. I think we hit that kind of weird phase where there's some really ambitious films that just fall a little flat, and then there's a lot of Oscar bait films. Mm-hmm. And then there's the occasional, oh my god, that was such an amazing film. But it's not super strong in my recollection.
I agree with you, and I think the other problem is that people sometimes just are artists who get an Oscar nomination because of who they are. Like Alexander Payne got this, I think, because of who he is.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know that it had anything to do with The Descendants. Woody Allen gets nominated for whatever Woody Allen does. So I think if they had maybe looked at some other lesser known artists and maybe pulled some of those movies up, but maybe not.
No Strings Attached clearly deserved the Oscar
nomination. Clearly. Yeah, no, actually I liked the other one better.
Okay. I think I did too, because I think I saw the movie.
Although
something like Take a Tale of Soldier Spy, I think would have been an easy one to take, either to add as a 10th, or to take some of these out. I mean...
and that's a really good point too, is they couldn't even get to 10.
Yeah.
So I find that interesting.
Part of it is, like I said, when I was looking through to compile the list, it's so IP led.
Yes.
And all of the others that are not an IP are either so independent that it's hard to pull a lot of those out.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, is like, there's so many small movies, to your point, that might have been elevated if they'd been nominated.
Yep.
But because they weren't, they weren't.
But this is really, we're firmly in the 100% IP, so it's either like a $200 million movie, a $50 million movie, or like a $5 million movie.
Yeah.
And there's big gaps in what you can do with that kind of budget. So unfortunately, the big IPs they're just, the whole idea of the $30 million romantic comedy is starting to fade during this period.
Yeah.
And the ability to make a good movie with quality actors, with a quality script and good director for $50 to $60 million doesn't exist in this time period.
Exactly.
Anyway, all right, that's part 1. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.